Hello everyone, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, personal development, helping people, and all the things it takes to help you live a strong, joyous life. My guest today is Dawn McGee. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and thanks for coming back because Dawn has been here before. And let me give you a little bit of information about Dawn. She is a certified and licensed nutrition coach. You can reach her at Dawn McGee, MCGEE.guru. On Facebook, Dawn McGee Nutrition Coach. And also Reclaim Your Life One Bite at a Time. And on Instagram for you IGers, it's DM Nutrition.
Yes.
And so we hit all the different populations with the generations with the Facebook and the Instagram.
For sure.
So what's new? What have you been working on since we last met?
Well, thanks for having me back. I appreciate
you're so
it.
Welcome.
It was fun to chat with you last time. It's really interesting as the world of health and nutrition and my business evolves to see what comes up next. I am, working with clients, and after a while, you sort of notice that there are some things that you say every time that you work with a new client, and so I started to take those and sort of break that down into something that's a little bit more repeatable. And people want to know sort of where they're going and what they're going to do, and so I call it my eat, move, and recharge system.
Okay.
So when we talk about eating, we want to talk about protein and fat and carbs and keeping your blood sugar balanced and making sure that you're eating every 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, so more of the technical logistical things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And making sure you're not getting bored and that you've got food variety in your life.
Yeah.
And then the same for movement,
Yeah.
right? We want to make sure that you're being consistent and that you've got variety to keep it fun, and that every so often you bring up the intensity to keep your heart rate going. And so, we work on these little not quite acronyms, but just little systems to make sure that people understand what their focus is and what they're shooting for, and how to make their goals work.
Yeah, and then the third part was recharge.
And then recharge, and arguably that is the most important part of a routine.
Yeah.
Because it's about hydration, it's about sleep, it's about stress, reducing it, of course.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So really taking care of yourself and making sure that you're enjoying it, and it's not, you're not doing this just because you feel you have to, but because you want to, and because of how you feel when you take better care of yourself.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference.
There's a lot to unpack in there. Can we go back and talk
Sure.
about each section in a little bit more detail?
Sure.
One of the things I'm interested in, I was hoping we could cover today is that beginning part where somebody, how it can be so overwhelming, and you've had failure after failure, and how can you just break the inertia, just to get going and take your first step. They're all in or they're not in. They're joining the gym and everything, and it's just you can't change like that. It's too fast.
No, it's really too much because it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right? If you make those kind of changes where you sort of throw everything up in the air and change everything, it's just not sustainable. So I like to talk with people about 1% at a time and making progress, and not
Did
trying
you say 1%?
1% at a time.
Wow.
Right? Just if you think about it, if you start making 1% changes every day, or even if that's too fast every week, think of where you'll be at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And what a difference that would make in your lifestyle.
Yeah. So you give people some perspective, and you change some expectations right up front.
Absolutely.
And that helps them get started.
Right.
That's one of the biggest obstacles for people, just getting started. And I'm like, it's okay. If all we do is drink a glass of water, if that's the change you made this week.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's so true because, and sometimes people want to see instant results.
Of course.
And so I have to tell people there is no easy button.
Yeah.
And there is no silver bullet. But if you are consistent about making small changes, you'll notice the difference.
Yeah.
So we start off with, why are you doing this? Why do you want to make changes? Why is now
Oh, so you
the
don't
time
start
for you?
off with food even. You're
No. No, we start off with mindset.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
And we don't talk about diets. We don't do diets. I don't put people on a plan. We talk about why are they here? Yeah. Why do they want to make a change? Yeah. And sometimes you have to really dig into that. I'm here because I'm going on a cruise in June, and I really, I have a bathing suit that I want to look good in. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, what would you do with that?
So what does that do for you? Then why is that important to you? Well, my family's all going to be there. I don't want them to think that, I haven't been taking care of myself. Okay. So why is that important? Well, it's really important because, I want to be there and I want to be able to celebrate with my family. Okay, so now we're starting to get to the root of it. They want to be there. They want to be there for their family. They want to be able to celebrate. They want to be able to enjoy it and not feel like they're sitting on the sidelines, not able to enjoy and participate. And then you go even a little bit further than that, because it has to be something that's meaningful to them, right? And something that'll keep them going on the tough days. I want to be a better mom for my son. I want to set a good example. I want him to live a healthy, happy life and not have some of the struggles that I had when I was growing up in my 20s. And that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure out why you're there.
Do you ever talk about what is holding a person back or what they're afraid of?
It depends upon where we get to.
Okay.
There are certainly lots of times where it is outside my scope of practice, mm-hmm. And I would refer somebody to someone else to talk to, counselor or other kinds of practitioners, because there's only so far that I go with people.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I was really aware of staying in the positive, like not what you don't want, what you do want, mm-hmm. but at the same time, there may be something that isn't in their immediate awareness that mm-hmm. they're afraid of, that we could talk about, or that they need to talk with somebody more deeply, and that could work in collaboration with you, or in conjunction with
Absolutely.
What you do. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'll use myself as an example. My mom passed away at a fairly young age from cancer, and so one of my driving factors for being healthier mm-hmm. is preventative, right? Mm-hmm. So it's taking a negative and turning it into a little bit more of a positive, mm-hmm. I mm-hmm. think, but it definitely has a negative side to it, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
A lot of times I find people they want help and they want the result, but they're, mm-hmm. I guess what I'm getting at with the fear is it's just so uncomfortable that there's something there, but they don't want to talk about it. They put up that defense, and how to help them break through that. Do you have any thoughts on that? And I know what you mean about something more deep or beyond the scope,
right.
but do you ever have an opportunity to help somebody feel comfortable? Is it just time?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it depends. We all have childhood experiences with food.
Yeah.
And, it means different things to us.
Yeah.
I grew up in a household where it was very, my dad was a meat and potatoes kind of guy, so it was a very carb-centric kind of household. I loved the fresh breads and the pizzas and, mm-hmm. and all of that. And, that's something that I had to learn how to balance. Mm-hmm. And so that's something from my background. And different people have different aspects. You celebrate with food a lot. Mm-hmm. You mourn with food. You socialize with food. Mm-hmm. I grew up where, if you were going to visit somebody, you didn't show up empty-handed. Mm-hmm. So you're always bringing food with you. So there's a lot packed into food for most people mm-hmm. and their backgrounds. And sometimes we get to unpack that, and sometimes, we don't really know what's underneath all of that. Yeah. It's buried too deep.
Yeah. So you start off with that, getting to the why and the mindset, and then mm-hmm. Where do you go next?
Well, then we start to talk about what are goals. And what are some big goals that people want to work towards? Why are they working with? I want to, feel healthier and be able to run around with my kids. Okay, mm-hmm. what does that look like? and we'll start to break it down into what everybody knows as SMART goals, right?
I'm seeing maybe a vision, though. You're really helping to crystallize or clarify a vision?
For what they want from our time together.
You say, what does that look like?
Yeah, what does it look like for them?
Yeah.
Right? You know, generally it's not about weight loss when you really unpack it.
Yeah.
You know, it's about something else, and what does it all give you? And how is that going to make them feel when they get there? You know, these are all things that they need in order to keep doing the work to get them there.
Yeah, to make it real.
Yeah.
Because weight is like step on the scale and you're not at your weight, you failed, and you can just drift away. So it makes no sense. Yeah.
And we talk a lot about how it's not really about the number on the scale.
Yeah.
It's about all the non-scale victories.
Yeah.
You know, how do you feel in your skin? What do your measurements look like? What does your body fat look like?
Yeah.
What is your energy level?
Yeah.
How does your skin look? You know, all of these things that make a difference, that indicate that you're being healthier.
Yeah. I've been studying recently, and I'm interviewing somebody next week on this subject of feeding our bodies and our brains as part of our body what it needs to be able to think the thoughts. So even if we want to think the thoughts, if we haven't had enough sleep, if we haven't had the right nutrients, or we've had things that are inflammatory or somehow interfering with our function of our body, we're going to have more difficulty with mindset.
Yes, absolutely.
With shifting to activate different parts of our brain.
Yeah, and it's amazing how little emphasis people put on the sleep and the stress, which are arguably two of the most important things to attend to for our health. Everybody focuses on, well, I need to eat differently, or I need to run more. And the stuff that they really and truly have an influence over, getting more sleep at night, figuring out how to reduce some of the stress in their lives. Because when you've got too much stress, you've got too much cortisol flowing through your system, you're never going to reach your health goals.
Well, I think the way this doctor, who I'll be interviewing, explained it is, the amygdala, you can't really hurt that. It's there because it's going to save your life in an emergency. And the cingulate gyrus he talks about similarly, it's the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part, the problem-solving part that needs to be taken care of. It will be affected by food, by stress, by all these things. So we don't sleep, we don't manage stress, we raise cortisol, and we put us back into our emergency brain.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And we have to stay in the healthy part, not in the addictive part, but pleasure, reasonable pleasure, but not the addictive piece. And to me, it's like, that all makes sense. That's science. That's just, and we can control it. And he says, moment by moment, when you know who you are.
Yeah.
And that just resonated so much, you know, my value. And even though I can slip out of it, it's not because I failed, it's because it's a moment by moment practice.
Yeah. It is. It's 1 minute at a time, because you can't live your whole life right now. Who knows what's coming next?
Yeah. So if you find yourself in that stressful, like one of my triggers would be my boys start fighting, right? My kids start fighting, and then, you know, or a loud noise or something. And it will, but especially, or if there's an argument, if they're fighting with me, I just don't want to feel that feeling at all.
Right.
I want to go right to numbing, you know. I want to escape. I want to get in the car and drive away. I want to go to the refrigerator and eat something, or have some wine or something. Just so that's the, you know, how do I pause and not go to the thing that's going to be destructive for me, and it's tricky.
It is. It's a practice, like everything else I talk to people about. Instead of reacting to something, to choose how they respond. And sometimes they look at me like I have two heads, because sometimes it is hard to choose in the heat of the moment. But if you practice, and you take a breath, or you count to 10. My mother counted to 10 so many times when I was little. Now I know why.
But it's that breathing that takes us out of that emergency brain situation into being able to think. And then if we've had the sleep, the 8 hours, and we've had the good nutrition, then all, you know, when people say, I've got all this stress, and I'm like, that's even more reason why you have to be a powerful warrior. You need to protect your body, because you're going to be, there's more demand here. So to me, that's well, you know, I got breast cancer, so I understood from that, if I'm going to fight this, I've got to be I've got to be able to think through how I'm going to handle it, and I recognize the connection.
Yeah, your foundation has to be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, your nutrition is
To
a
get
big part
optimal.
of that.
I mean, you can still get some results, but if you want the best results, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why would anybody want less than the best?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Do I ask people that? Do you bring?
It depends. You know, I definitely challenge them
Yeah.
and ask them the difficult questions. Not everyone's ready to hear them.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's certainly part of working with someone. If they want the results, then sometimes they need to hear the difficult questions.
Yeah.
You know?
So if I came to you and I said, I hear this a lot, Dawn, I'll be happy if I just, blah, 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 fill in the blanks, doesn't matter.
Right.
What do you say?
Well, we work on, so if that's their big goal, right, I'll be happy if I just, I'm like, okay, well, let's break it down and work our way to there, and then we'll figure out what comes next.
So you don't challenge it as what we were saying earlier as far as why would you want ordinary?
Why would you want to settle?
Yeah.
Well, because they may not be able to think any bigger right now.
Okay.
And they may have been so used to failing
that
they're not willing to set themselves up. So let's get them some successes to start with.
Yeah.
Then they can start thinking bigger, and they can dream a little bit more about where they really want to be with their health.
So you stay really in the positive with the person. I love that.
Yeah, we really try to.
Yeah.
You know.
So, and here's why I ask that, because sometimes if, and I when somebody messages me, like, I so much want it to be good news, but I'm expecting it to be bad news, I tend to go through life chin first, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe I shouldn't have done that, and I'm expecting them to be upset with me, and usually it's not that at all.
Right.
But it's kind of the script in there.
You're preparing yourself.
Yeah. So I get a little scared to be vulnerable and wanting to really ask for more than that.
Right.
So it sounds like your process is really just making it safe enough for me to be able to handle what I can handle right now.
Right. To meet you where you are.
Yeah.
And then we can walk to the next step.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I push you too far from the beginning, then it will be too big of a mountain.
Yeah.
And you won't even take the first step.
Yeah. Although earlier you were saying sometimes it's the difficult question, but you're you're able to read that in people, and you know people well, so you're able to not push too hard. You're not going to go anywhere without my permission.
Right.
Is that?
Well, and you know, let's dream a little.
Okay.
Tell me where you want to go.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take that feedback.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we break it down into something small and manageable. We look at things just a week at a time.
Yeah.
You know, what can you manage this week?
Yeah.
All right, and we set specific goals, and we check in each week.
Yeah.
How did you accomplish that? What were your challenges? What do you see your challenges next week?
So when a person comes in and they call it different things than I do, but plateaued, or they're kind of not gaining weight, they're not losing weight. How do you handle that with them? How do you help them gain perspective? Because sometimes you and I know this. There's growth happening. We just
Sure.
But what do you say to people?
Well, so the first thing we look at is I'd love to have them throw out their scales. So we don't even talk about weight if possible.
Yeah.
But we start to really talk about non-scale victories.
Yeah.
You know, what do your clothes feel like? What does your energy look like? How's your energy?
But
How do you
supposing
feel?
all of those things are the same, like nothing's better, nothing's worse. I run into this a lot where we're doing okay.
Right.
I think there's stuff going on underneath that's changing, but it's not. It's like
It's not come to the surface yet.
Just hasn't come to the surface yet. But there's no NSV, no non-scale victory that we can pinpoint of the typical things. The scale, because they weigh themselves at home. Or, because I'll say, I have a scale, but I'll say, you don't have to get on the scale. That's not my priority. Or clothes fit the same. Everything's the same. So.
And they're frustrated.
And that's, I'd love to be able to know how to get them to trust me that it can't be static. I know it seems static, but we've been doing all this talking. There's something else. How do you?
Well, if they're willing to make some shifts and some changes, there are two areas to really look at. One is, can we clean up the eating a little bit more?
Okay.
So that your body is sort of free to make some more progress?
Yeah.
Or can we add a little bit of exercise intensity?
Okay.
So your body's free to make progress in a different way.
Do you ever have people eat more? Like, do you ever run into that a person has not been eating enough food?
Oh, sure, especially women.
Yeah.
You know, I think we grow up in this culture of healthy is thin, and it's not really the case at all.
Yeah.
And the thought that eat less and you'll be thinner.
Yeah.
Which not necessarily healthier, certainly not healthier, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we definitely talk about food and eating, you know, a good balance of protein, fat, and carbs at every meal, eating every 3 to 4 hours. Now, if there's someone who's been skipping breakfast for all of their life, you know, we're not going to start right in with 6 meals a day,
Yeah.
right? That would be overload for their system. But you start, you know, again, back to the 1%. Where are they right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
What can we add this week that's not going to make them feel smothered and out of control?
Yeah.
And as their metabolism kicks in and it's happy being fed again, they'll be hungry. And so they'll start to get the normal triggers for being hungry and being satisfied.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's what I see is people they'll say, I do intermittent fasting for 18 hours a day. I eat 900 calories. So this would be a person who needs 2,000. And I'm like, your body doesn't trust you anymore.
Right.
And so I can't do anything weight reduction with that person. I mean, I do think of it that they'll reduce their weight eventually, but their metabolism, it seems broken. It's not repairable. It's sleeping. Yeah, it's sleeping. And we need to get the body back trusting that it's not being starved. Because it's we're so adaptable, right?
Right. And the people who skip the meals, you know, they stop listening to their body's triggers. Whether or not the body stops giving the triggers, I don't really know, but they certainly aren't listening to them.
Yeah.
Because our bodies are meant to be fed. And we do fast over the course of the night while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
We really don't need to fast longer than that.
Yeah. I love your style. It really is where I've come to understand because I worry about saying to somebody, you really can't be calorie restricted right now, and it just seems like I came to you for weight loss, and I'm like, well, this is what has to happen. Your body needs to get healthier, and I'm glad too. You said, whether or not it's the body stopped giving it, you're not even sure. It doesn't matter, but those signals need to be heard. And I people say that I'm not hungry. Right. And so yeah.
Right, and so have a half a meal or a quarter of a meal. Just make sure it's balanced so your blood sugar is balanced.
Yeah. What do you mean by balanced? Just for
with protein, fat, and carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's also sort of a common theory these days that carbs are bad. But the truth is, fruits and vegetables are carbs. And does the American diet have too much starchy carbs in it? Well, yes, it probably does. But that does not mean we should stop eating carbs. We should absolutely have good, healthy carbs.
Well, there's a difference between carbs. A lot of people, when I say carbs, they think immediately processed food as opposed to whole foods. So carbohydrates are just part of our fuel, and it's lots of things, seasonal eating, lots of reasons why we eat. Plus, sometimes food just calls to me that healthy food. I'm in the mood for this sweet potato. Why? And I'm like, I'm just going with it because I don't eat them a lot. But when I want one, I trust that my body is. It's a signal my body is looking for something in that food.
Right. Right. It's funny. I'm taking a really fun course right now called the Flavor Remedy, and it's about the 5 different, tastes: the sour, the sweet, the bitter, and how those are functional in your body as well. So I had a cold last week, and she said, well, make sure you have lots of sour and bitter in your meals because they're healing for a sore throat. Like, oh, that's fascinating.
Well, it makes sense because I think the bitters are the more natural antimicrobials.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it all ties together.
Yeah.
And so it's super
then you get
important.
off into Chinese herbs and all.
Which is definitely not my area of expertise.
Me either.
But I love learning bits and pieces of that, and I think
Yeah.
it's so important to get back in touch with what our bodies really want,
Yeah.
and know when the signals are what the signals mean.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, when I start daydreaming about the leftover pizza in my fridge, I know that my blood sugar has dropped and it's time for my next meal. And that doesn't mean it has to be pizza.
Yeah.
It just means that my body wants something
quick and
to
fast
eat.
and easy. Yeah.
Right, because I need to get my sugar levels back up.
Yeah.
You know.
We have about 2.5 minutes left.
Okay.
So I want to make sure if there's something I haven't been asking you that you'd like to talk about. I think earlier you were saying what's plan B? What to do when
Plan B. Yeah, my whole life is built around Plan B, right? What happens when your dreams and goals don't really happen? And for a lot of people, they start off the new year with resolutions. The number one resolution is about losing weight, which is kind of sad about our society. And then most people give up by February. So what happens, when you don't quite hit that big goal? And I think it's really important to reset and think about how you're setting your goals, and are you making them reasonable? Are you making them SMART goals? Are they simple, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based? If I say, I want to lose weight by that cruise in June, well, it's time-based. Is it realistic? Well, who knows? I can't guarantee the output. I can only guarantee my input. I can only guarantee what kind of effort I'm going to put into the work, and then what comes out of it is what comes out of it. And so it's really important to make goals that you can break down into small, bite-sized pieces. I'm going to eat balanced meals 80% of the time over the next 7 days. That's pretty, maybe not simple for everyone. It's pretty simple for my lifestyle these days. It's measurable.
And I think you're acknowledging that it could get broken down
Yes.
into much more finite pieces depending on where you are. Because people come to me from all different stages of what they need.
Yeah.
That's a great approach. It's really habit building, valuing the self, and making sure that's dealt with. And
Yeah, absolutely. Making sure that you know where you are, where you want to be, and figuring out how to get there in reasonable steps.
And having that vision, making that crystal clear.
Yeah, super important.
Well, we're out of time. That went so fast.
It did.
Yeah, I could talk for days with you. I love your approach, and
Thank you.
I love that you share what you know with people like me and other practitioners, and that we really have this family of helping each other help more people. There's way more people than there are coaches.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
And to see someone out there with your expertise and just your gentle way and really meeting people where they are, it's just good to know that you're there and have you as a source of where I could refer somebody to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed being here.
Yeah, thank you, Dawn.